Hello everyone, this is Cool Pro 195 streaming live with my RetroTink 5X Pro Showcase livestream. Back up in the building with yet another RetroTink product brought to you by none other than the one and only Mike Chi. And yeah, as some of you may know, for those of you who have been watching, well, pretty much my content on both Twitch and YouTube, or YouTube and Twitch, however order you want to say it, of your preference, whichever order of your preference that you like to say it. I've showcased the RetroTink 2X Pro in the past, along with 3 other products that, in a way, worked as backup plans. Well, this is pretty much the successor to that entire solution, so yeah. Pretty much like the RetroTink 5X Pro is the spiritual successor to the RetroTink 2X Pro, and here I am, making a comeback with another RetroTink product. And yes, social media, this is going all over you before I proceed with the entire showcase. And yeah, this won't be a very long showcase considering, like, you know how much there is to showcase in terms of, like, what the package contains. It is what it is. So yeah, this will be a pretty chill live stream. But I've seen and heard a lot of good things about the RetroTink 5X Pro. It's supposed to actually, in a way, it's supposed to be like the first of its kind. It's supposed to bring like new features that the previous devices in line didn't offer. Well, it didn't manage to bring to the table anyway, and you're just sharing this all over Discord servers. And yes, as some of you actually know, the brand RetroTink is actually named after Mike Chi's pet rabbit Tinky. And of course, in a way, that's a partial giveaway, as you can tell just by looking at the logo. As you can see, like, his 2 pet rabbits within the RetroTink logo, with Tinky on the right and Melly on the left. Yeah, just bear with me, people, just whipping this out to multiple Discord servers. Speaking of which, I might actually jump onto the channel itself on my phone, therefore it'd be easier to monitor the live stream and see, like, which comments are there. I mean, I know I can see in the actual, stream manager as well, but I want to monitor the live stream at the same time. Well, at least it's working better now. And hey, Stefan, welcome to the live stream. Old School Gamer NR1 says whipping it out. Oh, let me mute my phone for a bit. There we go. It's like whipping it out, Kappa. Yeah, and also, those of you who want to join the commentary, feel free to do so, for those of you who are actually in the Dingo Crash Discord server. Although I haven't jumped into the general voice chat channel yet, since, I pretty much, in a way, well, this isn't an impromptu live stream, since in a way I sort of had this planned based on how I had this lined up after my previous live stream where I showcased the Xbox Series X. But yeah, I'll jump into that voice chat channel just for a bit. But for those of you who want to wait for me in there, feel free to jump in ahead of time. It says can't internship, fair enough. Yeah, Stefan's at internship right now. And hey, StormyPop, welcome to the live stream. He says, good morning, #GameGang. Nice emojis there too, nice emotes. Pretty sick. Highly appreciate you stopping by. And also, in terms of showing appreciation, before I forget, honourable shoutouts to both Mr. Original Name and James the Crimson Dragon for your donations within previous live streams. Every donation is 100% appreciated and not at all an obligation whatsoever. For those of you who want to donate, feel free to donate at your own, out of your own generosity. StormyPop says you are welcome. And while we're on the topic of RetroTink, like, do you happen to have like any knowledge of RetroTink, or do you know anything like, you know, about RetroTink products in general, or did you just jump in because you felt like it would be an interesting live stream to check out? Because either way, I highly appreciate it. Yeah, just whipping this out to multiple Discord servers before I actually get into the showcase itself. And it won't be a very long live stream for what it's worth, and it will presumably be shorter than the previous one as well, since of course had a lot to showcase in that one, for what it's worth. StormyPop says, I played classic games before like Donkey Kong, and yes, this is something that in a way would be perfect for retro games like that, hence the name RetroTink. And speaking of what I was talking about earlier, about people wanting to join the commentary, I've just jumped into the general voice chat channel of within the Dingo Crash Discord server. For those of you who are in that server, feel free to jump in. For those who want to guest commentate, I know Stefan can't because he's currently has internship. He just posted out in the comments section. And cheers for the follow, StormyPop. 100% appreciate that. But yeah, Donkey Kong is a great game. Like arcade classics like Pac-Man, Galaxy, and Donkey Kong and all that. Like, they're perfect for devices like this. And for those of you who are pretty much unfamiliar, wow, yeah, it's easy to trip up on words, but what the fuck ever. Just, that's what I do, just showing some love. I highly appreciate the appreciation. Highly appreciate, you know, the support shot my way. And like, and speaking of which, like, do you happen to live stream yourself? Because if you do, I might actually check you out. Well, either way, I'll most probably check your channel out anyway, just to see what you're all about. Because then, like, you know, it's nice to connect with new people. Oh, it says I do. That's cool. I take it since you're into retro games, like retro is like pretty much within your repertoire. Same with mine. Like, not gonna lie, they are fun to do. Like, pretty much both classic and modern games are in my repertoire, so they're in my collection. And now, speaking of these devices, for those who are unfamiliar with these sort of, you know, the type of devices that, in a way, that I'm discussing, it's pretty much about, like, oh, it says not now, but once I get my PC set up at my new house, I'm going to get some classic games. Oh, that's cool. Well, that's a good place to start, to say the least. Just like focus on setting up your PC and at your brand new house, and then just see where it kicks off from there. It's a good place to start. But anyways, what these devices do is that they take old analog signals, whether it's composite, S-video, RGB SCART, or component, and it converts it to HDMI and it upscales it to like a compatible resolution that you know, HDMI cables can handle and specific displays can handle as well. And pretty much like this should be like at least the first of its kind, or not exactly the first of its kind, but the first in the RetroTink line, or the first in the line of RetroTink products to actually, you know, be supported by a wider variety of devices per se, with not just displays but also capture cards as well. Because previously Mike Chi had recommended people to not use the RetroTink 2X Pro with Elgato capture cards from companies such as Elgato and Ava Media because of the way they handle the signals. So like, to no surprise, you're gonna have to use a capture card such as the StarTech USB 3 HD cap, which I've also managed to pick up, but this should be a better solution because then I could use it with my modern capture cards, especially with like the best capture card that I currently have, which is currently the Ava Media Live Gamer 4K, because of the way it transmits the signal. It makes sense because the RetroTink 2X Pro, it was just all it was doing with the signal, even though it was converting the analog signal to HDMI signal, the resolution still remained the same. It didn't like upscale. It didn't technically upscale the image. All it did was, it didn't technically upscale the signal. It just passed through the signal to a different type of connection. That's basically all it did, and that's what was causing like all the pretty much the signal drop issues within like capture cards such as Elgato, because they don't have such a wide variety of resolutions that support when it comes to older signals, when it comes to like lower resolutions below 480p or so. So like, this should be able to fix that. And on top of that, it offers a triple buffer. It offers like a whole triple buffer solution, which in a way like it takes, actually properly upscales the signal. But what the triple buffer actually does is that it maintains stability within the signal. Therefore it's like, it can just, oh hey Fat Crumpet, welcome to the live stream. He says, oh, he's lurking as well. He says use the lurk command, even though I haven't had that set up, but still he says wow, like, yeah, it's weird when you can't talk for shit and you trip up, but yeah. He says, lurk for you, mate, hope you're having an awesome stream. Yeah, so far I am. And yeah, this will be a quick live stream, by the way, so it's gonna be pretty chill. But yeah, cheers for stopping by, Fat Crumpet. Highly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that stops by. Oh, and those are some cool emojis as well. There's some sick emotes. Same with like the Game Gang emotes from their Discord server. But anyways, as I was saying, the whole triple buffer feature offers like pretty much more stability in terms of resolution switching, because there's been within previous devices, with not just previous RetroTink devices, but a lot of you who have been pretty much researching or have had actually experienced, you know, previous devices that were trying to achieve more or less the same thing, such as the FrameMeister, such as the XRGB Mini FrameMeister and the OSSC. Like they both actually delivered decent quality, but for what it's worth. But at the same time, like, what they didn't manage to pull off successfully was to maintain a stable signal, and that was because of how it dealt with resolution switching. Every time there was a resolution, ugh man, it's a good thing I have a glass of water with me to, like, you know, keep my throat in check per se. But yeah, it was the way they handled like resolution switching, and every time there was a resolution switch with either a console startup sequence or pretty much a transition between a game's menu or the gameplay footage itself, like the signal would drop for like a few seconds. Like there'll be a drop within the signal, and you get like a no signal error message come up on the official capture preview of whatever capture card you're using, whether it's like Ava Media or Elgato, which in my case I'm in a way using both, depending on, or based on my current setup. I pretty much have like my Elgato Game Capture HD 60s Plus hooked up to my HDMI splitter that converts the signal to 1080p. Like, it has one HDMI port that goes out to my TV that converts, you know, the high-end 4K signal or 2K signal, or whichever signal that's above 1080p, down to 1080p for the TV, and like, of course, the uncompressed, and of course the other output slot for the HDMI cable actually going directly to my AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K. Going directly to my AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K, which is my actual 4K capture card that I'm actually using. Especially when it comes to, like, you know, modern consoles such as the PS5 and Xbox Series X. So yeah, that's that part of my setup. And pretty much like this triple buffer, and as they've advertised online on the website, they mention that it offers like zero drop gaming or a zero drop experience per se, as they've stated on the website. Because of the whole triple buffer resolution, it does it like automatically. It doesn't expect you to do it manually, which is something that, you know, wasn't implemented within previous upscaling devices or line doubler devices or line multiplier devices. But yeah, it's pretty cool, like how like it helps you. It's pretty cool that, you know, finally a feature like this is being brought into the picture, because in a way it's been in demand for a long time now. And not only that, but everyone knows that having signal drops, of course, it takes away from the original experience. Especially when it comes to the whole PS1 startup sequence. Which, by the way, I gotta give a shout out to DragoonClawNZ, or DragoonClawNZ, however you want to pronounce it, as he's recently managed to receive his RetroTink as well over in New Zealand. And I was watching his live stream recently, and it did more or less what I expected in terms of how it handled resolution switching. And not only in startups does it do that, but also people usually test out games such as Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo in order to like put that to the test. And because everyone knows that, like, you know, a game like that for the SNES can have, like, you know, a variety of resolutions when it comes to like being within a certain menu and go into a game and transition to gameplay footage. The transition from a menu to gameplay is, with some old games, they used a different canvas per resolution. So like they use like a different resolution canvas, so therefore it's like, that's where this triple buffer feature actually comes in handy. And not only that, speaking of resolutions, the RetroTink 5X Pro also has the ability to pump the resolution up. Well, when it comes to upscaling, it actually has the ability to pump it up to 2K, which is actually pretty neat for a device that's, you know, its original intention is only to upscale to HD, but to go above HD, such as like 2K, 1440p resolution is 2K, so that's halfway between 1080p and 4K. That's actually pretty impressive for what it can do. And those of you who don't even have an M Classic yet are probably thinking that they might not even need it as well. But I have an M Classic, and I figured it would be helpful, but just as like in a way to further smooth out the image, or just in a way clean up the image even more, even though RetroTink 5X Pro is gonna have like more firmware updates in the future that will also combat that problem. So But apart from that, like, from what I've seen, I'm actually impressed. It'll certainly be the first of its kind. And yeah, I know the name says, I know the name on the device only says RetroTink 5X. But yeah, on the site it's advertised as the RetroTink 5X Pro. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna get to showcasing this now because a lot of this has been discussed. And also another shout I'd like to give is to poweropossum, as he's been using the original RetroTink, to my memory at the very least. I was in one of his live streams recently and he's also one of my recent followers. He pretty much, like, he told me how, like, he was having difficulty of trying to purchase this device. Like, especially when, like, he stayed up until, like, 9 PM PST has stayed on the site from, like, the 1st of May, which is when this device dropped. And, like, he had Buckley's chance. Like, he had no luck whatsoever. He was shit out of luck in getting the device. Well, in managing to purchase it, as it was, like, already sold out. But then again, when I was on there, it said that the device was sold out the entire time. And as for people who are in the UK, such as myself, we had to use, like, a special link that he put up. He put up, like, a special PayPal link, which went directly to him. And on top of that, he used, like, DHL as, like, the shipping service, where I had to, like, pay my customs and stuff. And that link wasn't working at first, but then, like, as soon as I saw the update on Twitter, which thank fuck I did at the time, I managed to purchase it in time. And as I mentioned that to him in the previous livestream, he was rooting for me and always like, you certainly deserve the RetroTink 5X Pro 100%. And I highly appreciate that sentiment. So yeah, shoutouts to poweropossum. Yeah, I just wanted to look back at the dashboard, therefore I didn't get your username mixed up, but yeah. Anyways, now that's those shoutouts out of the way now to actually showcase the device itself. So here we have the RetroTink 5X Pro, and I've seen that some people have been receiving the package as in like an official package that said RetroTink 5X Pro on the package, but the one I received was pretty much one of those standard shipping boxes, which, in a way, I know it's nice that it came in a box at the very least, but at the same time it's like, it's a different approach at the very least, and as you can see, like, it's pretty much a basic standard shipping box with a sticker that has the RetroTink logo on top of it, or a sticker or a label, however the fuck you wanna put it. But yeah, it pretty much all goes hand in hand, and either way, it's nice. I appreciate the device arriving like safely. I don't know why I coughed there, but whatever. Just bear with me, people just getting back to a certain Discord server, therefore I can just keep track of who joins the commentary whoever feels like doing so at the time. But yeah, this won't be such a long showcase live stream. I pretty much have a lot to say based on the matter, based on like what the device has to offer, but that's pretty much it. As for gameplay, I'll probably do that separately. I'll probably like showcase gameplay within separate live streams. So yeah, that'll be an interesting approach to take. So yeah, this is pretty much like how the box came, and to my surprise, in a way, like, this sticker over here, this label was already unsealed, so like I was partially concerned. So then I had to open up the box and see for myself what I was getting myself into, just to see if, you know, the product and everything was still there, and thank fuck it was. Otherwise I would have had to make a serious complaint. Like 100%. I would have had to make like an official complaint. Oh hey AnyOldGames, welcome to the live stream. He says gotta test some 4AI content on it. Yeah, especially with how this handles resolutions and everything. Yeah, and I was discussing this earlier as well. Like, I'm glad that, you know, they finally introduced a triple buffer option, and I'm also glad that, you know, this device actually offers the ability to upscale, to actually, you know, properly upscale the image through conversion this time, instead of just flat out passing it through from one type of signal to another, from one signal type to another. Because then, like, it just makes it more compatible. It just makes it like all the more wholesome and everything, and all the more manageable in terms of compatibility between like a wider variety of capture cards and stuff. Since, especially with my setup, as I'm currently using the Elgato Game Capture HD60S Plus and the AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K, like, in a way, in sort of like a chained sort of setup, and with pretty much HDMI splitter in between the two. But yeah, in terms of recording, like, the HD60S Plus is of course the backup, whereas the AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K is my main capture card, because that's of course the device that actually you know, gives users the ability to record up to 4K. And the fact that, you know, I'll be able to pick up the 2K resolution that the RetroTink 5X Pro is gonna be spitting out, like, that's gonna be like, the AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K is gonna be all the more useful for this sort of setup. Okay, so pretty much this is what the box has to offer. It's just a basic shipping box, but it's pretty interesting how, like, with the approach that they take, it's pretty much a blank box, but you get a picture. Especially with, like, the numbers at the back. Okay, time to open up the product now. Oh wait, let me just switch to OBS, therefore I know what I'm doing. Well, in a way, I do know what I'm doing, but at the same time, like, I can see what I'm doing on the preview, therefore I know how it's being presented. Okay, here we go. And first off, we pretty much have like a flyer, or a leaflet, or like an introduction leaflet per se, that has the RetroTink 5X Pro logo on it. Well, the RetroTink logo on it, which, with the RetroTink 5X Pro in the background, and of course, as advertised, is the RetroTink 5X Pro, as stated on the card. I think, like, they call it like a product card, and over here, like, it states the features that it has. And also another thing, which I'll also get into in a bit, this one actually comes with its own remote, just like the XRGB Mini FrameMeister and the OSSC, which is pretty cool. And the previous RetroTink devices didn't come with a remote, but this one actually does. So, like, this is the first of its kind in its product line, per se. So yeah, like, I'll read through the instructions and stuff as well, but in a way, a lot of this stuff goes without saying, and it says that it's micro, and of course, it goes without saying that, just like its predecessor, it's also micro USB powered, which is really useful. And yeah, I apologize if I sound distant when I'm actually showcasing this stuff. It's just based on, you know, the setup of this entire room and the amount of space that I have in this room in order to actually execute this sort of live stream, or this type of shooting scenario per se. So yeah, just bear with me, people. But yeah, it's a nice little introduction leaflet per se. It says, congratulations on your purchase of the RetroTink 5X Pro. The upscaler is designed to be extremely easy to use. To get started, plug in the micro USB power cord, the digital video cord to your HDTV, and the AV cord from your console. Okay, so that's instruction number 1. Number 2, press the input button on the device or the remote to select the correct source. Number 3, you should now see your games upscaled to 1080p or 1440p, whichever you choose. Even though like they have, in a way, it's interesting because they even have like a resolution that's halfway in between 1080p and 1440p, and that's 1200p. Which in a way, it provides overscan for those of you who just want to automatically crop off black borders, for those of you who don't want to do it manually when it comes to using it within OBS, or just like manually editing them out within videos. But I'd rather do it manually myself, therefore it's I can have it exactly the way I want it to. But yeah, he also says, if you're happy with the results, you need to do nothing more. Just enjoy high definition clarity. And that's pretty much like the main aim for these devices. Like, as long as it offers a stable signal and the quality is decent, that's all that should matter. Like, stability and performance. Like, stability, performance, and image quality are pretty much like the 3 main features that should be like deal breakers if, you know, they don't go your way, but they're like the features that matter the most. Like, if it ticks all those 3 boxes at the very least, then that should be enough. And with all these bonus features such as adding scan lines and stuff, it's just nice to have in terms of, you know, trying to emulate a certain experience, like in a way using CRT filters and stuff in order to give off the impression that you're playing off a CRT when you're actually not. It's a nice feature for those that actually want that sort of experience. And yeah, and as you can see, like, it pretty much has like a diagram of what the remote actually looks like, and this is a nice representation as well, not gonna lie. So yeah, this is power off and save settings right at the top, of course. Cycle to next output resolution. Same function as input button. Yeah, as you can see on the home button. And yeah, like, they have a turnstile right here. Same function as option button, which I believe is pointing to the OK button. I don't know, the light's pretty dark here, but then again, like, the lighting outside isn't so great, but it is what it is. Shift image up 1080p over, yeah, over there you can change the resolution, to my understanding at the very least. Rewind OST is the left button on the turnstile. Or on the D-pad anyway. Well, I say D-pad, but like on the directional buttons anyway. Advance OST to next option, yeah. Which is on the right, which makes sense. Shift image down 1080p over, so yeah. It applies to when you use like the 1080p over function. Because like that has like, that's 1080p but with overscan applied. Which like crops off like, you know, certain like top and bottom portions. Well, not just top and bottom portions, but also like on the sides as well. But yeah, and also like, as you can see, this is a return button, so it's like you exit the OSD. And then they have like volume buttons as well. Cycle to next scanline strength, cycle to next interpolation mode. Yeah, the text is pretty small. And then like it's nice how they have a mouse button here too. It says cycle to next H sampling mode, next horizontal sampling mode, to clear that up. But yeah, this is actually pretty cool. In a way, like, it's more of an about time that RetroTink products have actually, you know, included, you know, their own OST and a remote inside them. And this is like, you know, a giant leap forward for RetroTink products. Like, for what it has to offer anyway. And over here we have like a nice RetroTink sticker, which is pretty cool. And now for the product itself. And I think there's stuff below it as well, which has the cables, which I think I'll showcase first. Okay, so over here we actually have the RetroTink 5X Pro, which of course goes without saying. And everyone knows that I always showcase like all the extra stuff before showing showcasing the main product itself. Nice to see people showing up. But yeah, anyways, back to business. Okay, so here's what we have inside the box itself. So first off, we have the remote, as showcased previously within the starter guide. I gotta say, it looks pretty cool. By the way, like, disclaimer, the site states that, I don't even know why I said like the site, but what the fuck ever. The moments when you can't fucking speak for shit. But anyways, that's besides the point. Anyways, as I was saying earlier on, but this, like, quick disclaimer, the site itself states that it does not come with batteries, so no batteries are included as part of this purchase. So you're gonna have to get your own AAA batteries, which are the small batteries that you put at the back. And they're the same batteries that you use for the remotes that come with the XRGB Mini FrameMeister and the OSSC. And it's nice to actually, you know, see this in person. Looks really cool, I gotta say. Really does wrap it up nicely. Oh man, that looks so fresh. Even the buttons feel like, they feel really soft too, like they're smooth as fuck. Yeah, just testing out all the buttons just to see how they work. Well, not see how they work, but see how they feel. They have a nice rubbery feel to them. They're all rubber, so it's like, it's not very obnoxious on the finger. It's like, it's smooth for like, you know, the player to use, or the end user to use. And over here, now this is actually like a bonus that would usually be like an optional thing to purchase as stated on the site. This would be like an optional peripheral to purchase on the site, and that's pretty much like a composite / S-video to SCART converter, which you can plug into the SCART, which you can actually plug into the SCART port. And the reason why he introduced this as like a bonus feature, or the reason why he included this as like a bonus feature, would be for someone, would be like, say if someone wanted to use another source, if someone wanted to connect either 2 composite AV sources or 2 S-video sources to the RetroTink 5X Pro by plugging this directly into the RGB SCART port of the RetroTink 5X Pro, they can do that. Say they wanted to plug in an NES that took in composite or whatever, they wanted to plug in any console that actually, you know, supported S-video or composite, they could do that. If they wanted to like plug 2 of them at the same, if they wanted to plug like 2 consoles that supported either composite or S-video into the RetroTink 5X Pro at the same time, they can do that by hooking this up to the RGB SCART port. And yeah, I'll open this up as well. To be honest, like, I know this isn't much of a necessity, but it's nice that he offers this, you know. It's a nice bonus option for those that want it. And I'm gonna be honest, I actually have quite a few of these like in my possession already, but the fact that he includes another one as like a bonus feature is actually in a way pretty handy. Especially for those that, you know, don't want to buy it separately from other retailers or wherever the fuck they want to purchase it from that happens to be selling it at a much higher price, which would be a rip-off. And like this, in a way, like, he included it as an option, but it's like the way the price that he pretty much like sells this at is like only $5 more, $5 above the asking price, like $5 above the asking. Sorry about that, my throat is being a biatch or a prick, but what the fuck ever. But yeah, he only asks for $5 above the asking price of the RetroTink 5X Pro itself. So like, it's not a lot, but in a way, I didn't have that option to purchase it separately or not want to purchase it at all, but it's nice that he included it as part of the package. I highly appreciate that. Like, Mike Chi is a G, 100%. Maybe I'll just put this on top of here, therefore. It's nice for showcase representation. Hey James. Hey James OC95, welcome to the live stream, he says. Hello. Yes, the old composite to SCART. I haven't seen a SCART in ages. Yeah, SCART's a classic connection. It'd be pretty much like one of my main solutions as well. It uses a Craigasm emoji as well. Nice. Craigasm emote. Yeah, someone used that in the someone actually used that in the previous live stream as well, which is pretty jokes as well. Which is jokes on top of that. But yeah, SCART is a great connection to use, and also the last thing that I have to showcase here before we get into the main product itself is the micro USB cable, which of course is being used to power the device, which is really cool. And this one is actually a higher quality one than the one that was shipped with my RetroTink 2X Pro and the other 3 products that came along with it. The RetroTink 2X Pro, the RGB to comp, and the comp to RGB, and the RetroTink 2X SCART. Like, those 4 devices came with like a more basic micro USB cable, whereas this one is like a braided one, so it's like it has better quality shielding on the cable. Therefore, it makes up for more stability on the device itself. So this is actually pretty cool. Okay, I think I'll move like some of these devices back, therefore I can actually showcase them better. Just bear with me, people. I'll showcase the device itself in just a bit. Okay, I think this, in a way, would be a better approach. Okay, here we have it, people. About to unravel the device itself. In a way, like, I know for a fact that it's actually bigger than the 2X Pro, to no surprise. But, you know, in a way, it does feel bigger in person. Time to open up the device itself. Wow, and here we have it, people, for the RetroTink 5X Pro. And I know the lighting isn't that great, but in a way, it's a nice case, and it's pretty cool how, in a way, it's so dark to the point where you can't actually tell that it's see-through until you actually see it for yourself. Wait, let me just wipe some of the fucking hairs off. There, that looks much nicer now. Here we have the RetroTink 5X Pro, and it looks really sick. We have like the menu button over here, the option button over here, and the input button over here. It's a nice setup that they have, and it's a really cool enclosure for what it's worth. It's pretty secure, and not only that, but it doesn't feel that cheap either. It actually feels like, you know, it's actually like, in a way, it's a nice rock hard case. Well, I say rock hard, but like the material in a way like feels more stable to a point where it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart or what the fuck ever. It's like, it's a really nice, it's a really nice translucent Well, I can't say the word translucent for some fucking reason. But yeah, it's a really nice translucent enclosure. There we fucking go. In order for it to have. Because like on the site, especially like seeing it like just by looking at the official like promo shots of the device itself, like it looks like it's just pitch black. It just looks like it's a black device that's completely opaque, but it turns out that, you know, it's black on the outside but see-through. Like it looks purple on the inside in a way. And plus that's what the lighting is actually giving off as well, which is really cool. But yeah, anyways, it's interesting how they advertise it as the RetroTink 5X Pro, but it only says 5X and not 5X Pro on the device itself. And yeah, I know I keep on like getting rid of bits of dust, which in a way is like a bit of a head fuck in a sense. It's a bit of a mind fuck, but whatever. What the fuck ever, it's manageable. But yeah, I do like the design of it itself. At the bottom over here, we have like the RetroTink product itself. Oh, here it says the 5X Pro. Over here it states that it's the RetroTink 5X Pro with the actual RetroTink logo. With like two pet rabbits, Tinky and Melly. Honestly, it is nice how like, you know, he named, you know, his brand after one of his pet rabbits. Or like pretty much like his chief rabbit, Tinky. And yeah, don't want to scratch it on the fucking tripod, but whatever. And I take it this is pretty much, this is put in place to actually, you know, make it stand better. Now, in terms of the connections, as mentioned before, well, or as you've seen on the screenshot anyway, like here we have the SCART connector, which we use to plug in RGB SCART cables for consoles such as pretty much consoles from the fifth console generation era and below. So for consoles such as the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, the Atari Jaguar, or the Atari Jaguar, or Jaguar, however you want to pronounce it. Which, of course, are also free consoles that are in my collection, so I can't wait to actually test them out with this device. It's gonna be sick. Especially from what I've seen. Within, like, you know, some people's live streams, especially poweropossum's live stream. Actually, no, not poweropossum's live stream. DragoonClawNZ's live stream. Of him actually showcasing gameplay. Or of him actually, you know, testing the product live. But yeah, this is pretty much like for all the devices like that that actually support RGB signal through a SCART connection. But as mentioned before, like if you want to hook up like another S-Video connect, if you want to hook up like either like another device that's using a composite connection or another device that's using an S-Video connection, and you don't want to use any of like these slots over here, and because you're saving them for something else and you want to use it as like a secondary input for the same type of connection, you can just piss easily plug it in to the SCART cable just like that. By the way, like, since you gotta be careful with how this works, because like from my experience, especially with growing up with connections like this, there's an input and output switch, which of course you gotta use, and of course this is gonna be taking the signal as an input. You want to switch like the button to where it says input, like on the side, and not output. You can use it as an output device. Like it's nice how these sort of like SCART adapters, you can use them as either an input or an output device, which is also useful for like hooking up other devices through like these sorts of connection, whether it's these sorts of RCA connections, whether it's composite or S-Video. For some reason, out of the blue, I was segueing to say S-Video for some fucking reason. Like, what the fuck is S-Video? There's some of you motherfuckers are cracking up in the chat right now. But yeah, that was arse backwards, no pun intended. But anyways, back to business, back to the main topic at hand. But yeah, apart from that, like, that device is also useful for that peripheral would be a better way to put it, would be useful for devices such as outputting a VCR or whatever to a certain device, or to other certain devices that are using an RCA connection. And not only that, but you can either like hook up fucking DVD, you can even like hook up fucking, you know, VCRs or VHSs, like a VCR or a VH. You could either like hook up, you could even hook up like a VCR and a VHS or even a DVD player to like the SCART input of RetroTink 5X Pro, and that would certainly work out for the best, especially with how like this deals with the signal with the triple buffer, like 0 drops and shit. Because like it makes up for the authentic experience, because let's be realistic, no one remembers fucking signal drops when it comes to actually seeing the PS1 startup sequence or what the fuck ever. So yeah, I mean, in a way it's sort of like hit and miss, but most of the time, from what I've seen from DragoonClawNZ's live stream, it's actually managed to execute it like almost perfectly, or almost perfectly, or almost perfectly, or just perfectly from the start for like most of the time. So that would get like a 9 out of 10 if it's successful in doing so, especially when it comes to me testing it out for myself. So yeah, it'd be the perfect solution for that. Okay, so that's pretty much SCART covered. And also, speaking of like SCART connections, there are certain specific connections that you can use. You can purchase them from sites like Retro Gaming Cables. I actually have two, well, technically 3 different types of SCART connections for my PS1, for my chipped PS1, and one of them is like a JP21, which I bought which they called a Pro RGB SCART cable, and I bought that as part of a bundle with my XRGB Mini FrameMeister, and you can use that and you can use a JP21 adapter in order to plug that JP21 SCART cable to a Euro SCART cable. So yeah, this is a Euro SCART connection, just so you know, and not a JP21. And the reason why I say that is because they're 2 different types of SCART connections. They're 2 completely different types. And like hooking them up, and there's like a potential chance of like actually damaging the device or so when it comes to like, you know, mixing the signals up, as in like plugging the wrong type of SCART cable into the wrong type of SCART port. So yeah, that's something you gotta look out for. And the other 2 types I have for the PS1, or the other 2 types of SCART cables that I have for the PS1, which I purchased from Retro Gaming Cables, which is like a UK retailer, is the Sync-On Luma SCART cable, which, you know, it does well in certain aspects, but apparently not as good in comparison to C-Sync. At least that's what I've been hearing and reading about all over the internet from doing a fuck ton of research. But yeah, this is what a lot of research does to you. It really, like, you know, educates you a lot. And speaking of C-Sync, and that's actually the 3rd type of SCART cable that I have for the PS1. Ultimately, I also have the C-Sync SCART cable connection for the PS1, which is, well, it's recognized as the best sort of SCART cable that you can use for the PS1, as it like offers composite sync, it offers composite sync over an RGB SCART cable, which in a way, like, it maintains the clarity of the signal by dealing with like the composite part of the RGB signal. Like, it just keeps it in check, from what I know. Well, from what I've read and from what I've heard and from what I've seen. And also partially due to test it myself, but for those of you who have different, in a way, sort of different information about that specific aspect of C-Sync, then, you know, feel free to enlighten me. Feel free to drop a comment in the live chat, or for those of you who are watching on YouTube, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. But yeah, that's pretty much like PS1 covered. Although, like, what DragoonClawNZ was actually using, he wasn't using a SCART cable in his setup for the PS1. He was using the HD Retrovision component cable for the Sega Mega Drive set, or the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis, with a PS1 adapter, and that worked out perfectly for him. Like, the signal was actually, you know, pretty clean, and it pretty much gives, in a way, it actually gives pretty much the same results as an RGB SCART cable, in quality wise, to be specific. Like, don't 100% quote me on that, but yeah, it pretty much gives more or less the same results, because both RGB SCART and component are they're both RGB signals, but they're two different types of RGB signals. Whereas, like, because RGB SCART is, of course, like your standard RGB signal, or like your conventional RGB signal per se, whereas component is your YPBPR signal, which is, like, you know, why they have these connectors over here, which is, like, you know, why they state, like, you know, specific combinations per color, which is really cool and really interesting. So yeah, like, SCART uses the conventional RGB SCART uses the conventional RGB signal, whereas component, or RGB SCART, uses the conventional RGB signal, whereas component uses in a way, well, I wouldn't exactly say the more advanced, but it uses the YPBPR. It uses, like, the next generation signal per se of RGB signal, so it uses the YPBPR signal, even though, like, you see it backwards, it's now YPBPR because of the inputs that it uses. So yeah, now back to the inputs themselves. So as you've seen on the adapter, we have an actual S-video port over here, which is inside the device itself. And as for composite, as you've seen, and as some of you have may known, who have actually used, or at least seen, the RetroTink 2X Pro, and this is what the 5X, this is something that both the 5X Pro and the 2X Pro have in common. They both use, like, this port for composite. Like, when it comes to component and composite, like, the green port over here would act as, like, the yellow AV port for composite AV, in which then, of course, the player or the user can also use, the actual, or the consumer can also use, like, the RCA cables for the standard left and right audio cables, which, of course, in a way, partially goes without saying. So yeah, like, both composite AV and component AV both share this port that's labeled Y. A port that's labeled Y and has the green color-coded combination. Like, it shares that port for component and composite. So, like, if you were to like not use a component device, you would just put yellow, white, and red onto these three connectors and onto, like, these three ports or plugs or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and that should be your problem solved. Whereas, like, component, you make use of the full set. So, like, instead of yellow, you have red, blue, and green right here, and that's another thing why it's also another type of RGB signal, because it's the RCA connection form of an RGB signal. So, like, RGB stands for red, also stands for red, green, and blue in terms of, like, the colors that it's processing. Because like those are the colors that they use to process in order to like, you know, blend the signal together. And they split it up into separate cables as opposed to using it on one cable. Therefore, it's like with each part of the image being handled separately, you know that it just uses, you know that it just takes care of the signal. Like, you know that like not one source alone is doing all the job. Like 3 different sources are doing like a separate job, which, you know, maintains the signal even better. And of course, it uses the conventional left and right audio cables. And yet white is always left and red is always white. Red is always right. Fucking hell. Yeah, the times where you can't speak for shit aren't the best, but it is what it is. And also, last but not least, we have these 2 ports right here. We have the HDMI port over here, which of course you hook up to your TV, your monitor, your display, or your capture card, or whatever the fuck you plan to hook this device up to. Which of course, like, is 100% your choice. Whether it's outputting a 1080p signal, a 1200p signal, or a 1440p signal, aka a 2K signal. And last but not least, over here we of course have the micro USB port, which of course goes without saying that it's used to power the device itself. And it's really useful because you can just hook it up to PCs and stuff. You can like hook it up to any device that has like a USB interface, whether it's PC or like a console that's turned on, like pretty much any device that's like, you know, active and like has USB ports free, you can just hook it up to, or you can just use it as an adapter. Hey Larxauce, welcome to the live stream. I don't know when you joined, but like your comment wasn't showing up on my phone, but yeah. It says not really cracking up, lol. Well, you know, everyone has their own cup of tea per se, but yeah. But we know it's a bit of a piss take at some points with like how conversations pivot and such. But yeah, this is a nice showcase. Wait, let me just drink some water before I get back to commentary. Okay, that's pretty much everything like that I've had covered, but yeah, it's nice. I appreciate everyone that showed up for this live stream, and of course, as predicted, there wasn't a lot to showcase, but like I figured I'd, you know, since it'd be a pretty short live stream, but I had like a lot to say, and I'm not surprised it went on for like an hour because there was a lot to, you know, actually cover with this device. Especially with like, you know, all the hype built around it. I don't want to overhype it for other people either, because, you know, you gotta keep, you know, realistic expectations when it comes to devices like this, especially based on experience. But man, like, if I knew that, you know, this device is gonna offer features like this, then that would have been, you know, then it would have given people, like, you know, the mentality to skip over certain devices that, you know, couldn't do what this can. Like, honestly, like, if I knew this was coming out, I legit would have just chosen to wait for the 5X. Just to, like, save a decent amount of money. If I knew what I was... Especially if I knew what I was getting myself into with the predecessors of this device. Not only that, but other devices that I've tested as well, such as the FrameMeister and the OSSC. But, you know, that's, in a way, that's part of... It's part of the whole experimentation process, and it's also part of the learning curve as well. Well, it's not just a learning curve, but it's also, like... It's also part of you know, seeing what works best as well on top of that. Anyways, before I end this off, I'll just like put this in a much nicer way to represent, in a sense. I'll just like put it in a nice organization, therefore it's like, it looks more appealing to the eye. Not only that, but it looks more like, it looks nice and presentable on top of that. But yeah, this is it's actually a really cool looking device, especially for what it can do, what it's advertised at. For something that takes a retro signal, for something that takes like an old analog signal and upscales it, it's pretty cool. It's a cool looking device. Some may say it's futuristic, but it's partially debatable. It is partially debatable, but it is what it is. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit cropping off there, but whatever. But yeah, like, while I'm doing this, does anyone have like any 2 cents on devices like this, or have anyone actually, you know, ever thought of picking up devices like this, or have you actually seen these devices in action in the past, like at any point in time, or are you just discovering them now? Because like, it'd be interesting to know, like, you know, people's, like, you know, different insights on products like this. Like, I was introduced to products like this from people such as My Life in Gaming and Retro RGB and Adam Koralik, aka Figure Out Productions. But yeah, it looks nice and presentable, but at the same time it's like, you know, I figured I'd make a bit more time to like, you know, to see if anyone has like any questions about these, pretty much any questions to ask about the device, or not just the device, but like how this sort of stuff works in general, or whether, you know, I've pretty much covered, or whether everything, you know, has been pretty much covered and they're just here to kick back. Like, I appreciate it either way. If you don't have any questions, fair enough, I'll just clock off and raid someone. But yeah, for what it's worth, this has been really fun, especially for a fairly short showcase livestream. It's definitely been shorter than the previous one, without a doubt. But I think I'll push this up a bit more, therefore, like, showcases. Therefore, it looks a bit nicer. Not only that, but oh, there, I see it in the preview as well. It's not that delayed, actually. It's actually not that delayed. Or even at all, for that matter. Which is actually pretty cool. That's actually a really nice lineup. And that definitely looks a lot nicer, not gonna lie. I do like this design, the material that it comes in as well. Anyways, apart from that, I am pumped to test this out myself. I can't wait, and it in a way like give me all the more reason to want to live stream more retro games as well. Not only that, but not just through emulation now, through original hardware. And to do that, you know, of course, I want to provide the best possible experience. And by that, I mean, like, the best possible authentic experience that I could possibly provide. That I could potentially provide. Because, like, signal drops, of course, they take away from the experience. But since this triple buffer, and that is a massive deal breaker. But since this whole triple buffer feature came into the picture, it gave me all the more reason to want to, like, you know, purchase this device as soon as it dropped. I mean, yeah, I know, being a UK customer, in a way, it took the piss how I had to fucking deal with shipping customs. Well, not just shipping customs, but import customs on top of that, but which is funny because DragoonClawNZ, like he's in New Zealand and he didn't have to pay any import customs whatsoever. So like I don't even know how the fuck that works, because RetroTink products are based in the US. But I don't know, apparently like in a way there's it's pretty hit and miss in terms of like import taxes over in New Zealand, according to what was mentioned or what was discussed more like within that live stream that he did previously. But yeah, that's pretty much. But yeah, apart from that, I'm glad that I finally have the device as well, and I'm glad that, you know, I actually got it pretty early in its life cycle in terms of, you know, the amount of time that it's been released for now. And with that being the case, this will be a good place to end off the live stream, and it's gonna be fun testing this out. Yeah, I know I keep on adjusting stuff, but whatever. Anyways, this would be the best place to call it. So that pretty much wraps up the whole RetroTink. Yeah, I know, like, there's a bit of a trip up there, but what the fuck ever. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the whole RetroTink 5X Pro showcase livestream that I had planned, and for those of you who are sticking around, I highly appreciate that. Now, before I actually properly end this off, I'm just going to look for someone to raid. So like, for those of you who are watching this live, stick around. I don't know if I'll actually raid someone who's actually, you know, actually using the RetroTink or not, but, you know, I found DragoonClaw's livestream by chance, just by looking through the retro catalog. I mean, not the retro catalog, but the retro category within Twitch. Like the retro game category within Twitch. I think I might look in there again. See if anyone else is like using the RetroTink. If not, I might search manually. And a lot of people are playing sick games, I'm not gonna lie. Especially retro games. Yeah, Chrono Cross. Yeah, that's another game that has like resolution switching and shit. Like Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross are both, like, those two SNES games are also like the most like infamously tested games for, you know, products like this. Like for professional, like high-end products such as this. Okay, I think I might, you know, search up for RetroTink 5X Pro, see who's live streaming it. Wow, and only mine comes up. Oh, they just come up with videos. But anyways, you know what, fuck it, I'll just raid someone that has like a, I'll just raid someone that's just live streaming a game of interest, full stop, and just call it there. But yeah, this would certainly be perfect for games like Rayman, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Sonic the Hedgehog and such. Especially with games like Oddworld and everything. So they're the hits. I was gonna say, thank fuck I didn't exit the, the actual like dashboard screen. I see a lot of speedrunners, but at the same time, like, even though it is nice to raid a speedrunner, at the same time it's also like, you know, cool to raid like casual players as well, because like they're just getting to know the game. It's like that's what pretty much gives me more choice to like raid more people. Okay, let me see, like, okay, I think I know who I might raid. It'd be cool to raid someone playing CTR. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna raid someone playing CTR. I'll be raiding geomcmanus, or however you pronounce that. So yeah, for those of you who are still here, feel free to stick around for the raid. Okay, now that I've found someone to raid, this would be the perfect place to end off the live stream. So that pretty much concludes and wraps up the entire RetroTink 5X Pro Showcase live stream that I've just put in place and just managed to get out of the way. Especially to provide you lot like the entertainment and also the information, well, the potential like information that in a way, oh, someone's making noise. I sincerely apologize for that, people. People are just, you know, being disruptive. But yeah, anyways, back to business. But yeah, it was nice providing you lot with the potential like information which, you know, could come in useful for future reference. So yeah, this would be the best place to conclude the whole RetroTink 5X Pro Showcase live stream. Now, for those of you who are, it's been fun bringing this entertainment, well, this sort of entertainment to you lot. For those of you who find this sort of stuff interesting, and for those of you, and it was also, in a way, nice to educate potential newcomers to those who could actually find this sort of information interesting at some point in the future, or useful at some point in the future, like for future reference, for whatever scenarios that they might actually end up in, or whatever predicaments they go through. So with that being the case, for those of you who are watching this live on Twitch, feel free and be sure to wow, like, I was gonna do like the fucking YouTube outro first. Man, I'm getting mixed up. But yeah, anyways, back to the point. For those of you who are watching this live on Twitch, feel free and be sure to follow if you haven't already, in order to stay tuned and up to date with future live streams or potential future live streams coming your way on my Twitch channel. And for those of you who are watching this archived on YouTube, feel free and be sure to subscribe, like, or rate, however you want to put it. Drop a comment below to leave constructive feedback if you possibly can, and or share it around with your friends and family, whoever they may be, and see you lot on whatever's up next on both my YouTube and Twitch channels. Until then, laters everyone, peace out.